All right, so we are on to the Ninja double oven. So I got a super good deal on this. I was on, I was on all the sites, eBay, Amazon. And then I went to OfferUp, and there was a nice old man who had this, still new in the box, for $95. Now, if you know, like these are like in that $300 to $400 range. So I was like, yep. So I did all the measurements, and it's going to be close, but it seems like it'll fit here, and that'll be pretty ideal so that when you're walking in, it's right there. This is a as you can see from me, this is good eye level to be loading and unloading. Also, because it's a double oven, we should be able to, I don't know, make fries in one, burgers in the other, or toast the buns in one, burger in the other. You know, my wife is super excited about this, but this is meant to just sit on a countertop. So I got to figure out how to mount it up here so that it doesn't fly off when we're driving or anything like that, and I don't want it banging up the fridge. So I think we should get it out of the box. We should set it up here just to see if all my dimensions are currently correct. Now, we do have to move the water spigot. We're going to have to move it to over here, hopefully. And like you saw in the last video, the power cord, and we have the splitter, so we already have power over here. I'm going to get that thing unboxed, and then we're going to set it up here. All right, that's not too bad. It did come with a bunch of pans and stuff like that. I told my wife to test it out beforehand because I just wanted to make sure it worked before we threw it up in here. So there's this little, looks like a vent right here. But when I had her try it out, this side was not hot and it wasn't blowing air out right there. So she tested out the top and the bottom, and there was nothing blowing out there. So when I was feeling around, this side was incredibly hot, so that's good. So it's on the outside. So if you press this button, it opens just the top, but if you pull the whole thing, it opens both. So as you can see, I think all of my measurements are gonna be pretty good. And then if you look over here, there's plenty of gap right there. So all of that is pretty good and exciting. I'm pretty happy with all of that. So I think that there'll be enough room to have this spigot over here. I'm not sure how far over. I want it flush with the refrigerator. There is a little bit of a gap right here in between the containers, but I think just aesthetics wise, it'll look good right there. There's a hinge right here, but it does not impact that hinge. So looks like all the dimensions are pretty good. Now, I do have an idea of how to mount this down. So the easiest idea would just be to do a very similar straps thing, right? Problem is how hot these sides get. They were hot enough where it was hard to touch them. So I don't think that that's going to be good for these braided plastic straps. So I'm going to try to mount through the feet, and I have kind of an idea about that. I'm not sure how well it's going to work, but I guess we're going to find out right now. But let's get this over to the shop and we'll start making the mounts. All right, so over here in the shop, I have it flipped over. And so it has these rubber feet, and it seems like one side is a different height than the other. So I think the first thing to do, more than likely underneath this little rubber foot right here, there's going to be a screw or something. And there's not on that one. Let's see about this one. Aha, there is on that one. All right, so this one's, it's not a huge deal, but we'll have to figure that one out. This one, I figured we'd unscrew it, and then we'd put one of the riv nuts in there so that we would effectively be, this would be a spacer. And then I have a flat piece of steel that will bend. So it'll be straight from here, curve over like this, and then mount to the wall. And then it'll bolt through the metal piece into this So I think that that is the way that I'm going to go. But I'd like to see what's going on with these wires, you know. It's not a huge deal, but we could just drill that out in place. It's kind of odd. I'm just wondering how this is actually stuck on there now then. Maybe it's just glued. But all right, I'm going to get all of the feet off so that we can check this out. All right, so that took a little doing and prying. So apparently these ones are screwed in 2 screws on the bottom. That doesn't really matter for us because right there we're going to drill a hole and we're going to put this back on as a spacer and then have the riv nut and probably drill this out a little bit. These ones were a little bit more straightforward and a little easier on this side. Taking this piece out seemed like it was going to be overly complicated because this piece is on top of this piece and this piece goes underneath this piece. This side goes underneath this side, and this side is over this, so it's like this would have to be taken off that, and it's just like, so no. So what we're going to do is we'll probably have to end up chopping these off. I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal. I think they'll just pop right off, and that'll be fine. So yeah. So I'm just going to pop these off. All right, so I just got a pair of cutters. See, that's like popping off. And then as soon as I can get a hold of the actual threads, it seems like it pulls out just like the other one did. So go right here, pull the screw right out. We'll just hammer those back down in. It's not that big of a whoop. Right like that. But all right, we got that, and now we'll just bang those back in, something like this. We just need this to sit as flush as it was. That's about where it was at. I would have liked it to go like this side, but it is what it is. So now where these go doesn't necessarily matter because I'm drilling all the holes custom anyways. So, but I'm going to try to put it where it was, and then we're going to drill it out for the riv nuts. All right, so here's the pack of riv nuts right here. There's the grip width, so that means how much the outside of this will crimp down. This should be perfectly fine for what we're doing here. So here's a small drill that I'm going to use on this side, and then I'm going to center punch it, drill it with that, and then here's the end-size drill. I'm going to start on this side, and I have a shop vac. So as I'm drilling, I'm going to be vacuuming at the same time because I don't really want any little chips going in here and messing with the circuitry or anything like that. So yeah, I might actually turn it on its side. So if any chips do fall, they're not going to go this way. At least they'll hopefully just fall right there. But yeah, so I'm going to start drilling. As I'm drilling, close as we can. All right, so got our riv nut tool in. Pretty fancy one. I'll have a link in the description. So we're just gonna screw this on. And then gonna put it in. Gotta push down. All right. And then now we're gonna unscrew. Just like that. You got threads in the part. So the riv nut tool actually came with a bunch, but I had already bought these stainless steel ones, so I guess I'm just going to go with these. So I like to screw it in and fully bottom it out. And then as you're going, you got to make sure that you're kind of pushing down and squeezing together at the same time. All right. All right, so you want to make sure all these are nice and tight. So in case you don't know how this works, you got this little sleeve. They sell these in all different threads, standard and metric. And basically what's happening is this part right here that is has this knurling on it, that crushes down and then wedges itself on the steel. Not to mention, they sell these for different grips of different thickness of metals. So you gotta kind of know what you're trying to buy there, but they definitely work good. And now this has threads in it and can be held down. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up the metal so that we can start to figure out how long the metal should be, and drill the holes, grind it, sand it, and then hopefully we're priming it today and painting it tomorrow. All right, so we just set it back on top of the fridge to double check all the dimensions, because the tightest place is right here with where this foot is going to interact with the top of the hinge for the refrigerator. So I'd also like to know how long are we thinking these brackets need to be, at least this one way. So it looks like we're kind of at that 20-inch mark. Now if we're going to the wall, if we're going to the wall at 20-inch, so that's not too bad because that one piece I have is over 4 feet. Yeah, I think that'll be fine. So that'll be fine. So then up from there, it can go 7-inch-ish. So if we cut each piece to, let's say, 27 inches, that should be good. If we don't have enough, we'll just cut the piece in half and then it'll just be what it is. But that seems pretty good. So 20 inches over is where we want to do a hard 90. We'll see how well we can do that. All right. All right, didn't quite have enough, so we cut them at, instead of at 27 inches, 25 and a half, and we'll just make that work. So I'm going to mark out where these holes are at. It's basically just going to be in the center of the width of this. Just drill the hole, and then right here, this hole will just have to be dead center right there in the center of the width. So that's all going to be pretty straightforward and easy. So we'll bring you back in after these two holes are drilled, because we're just drilling holes in metal. All right, so we got them drilled out. Did have a miscommunication right here because these feet are not the same distance apart that they are over here. So it doesn't matter. This will be on the bottom. Nobody will see it. Not only will it be on the bottom, but on the bottom towards the back. So these are all in. I wasn't sure what length screws I was going to need, so I just got extra long ones, so that we'll just cut them down. And then we're spacing it off of the back, because I think the spacing off of the back is going to be pretty important. So we're going to try bending it right here. And this is exactly at 20. So this should be enough, depending on how hard we can actually make the 90-degree bend, which I'm not sure how hard we're going to be able to make it, but we're going to try. Okay, so we already bent one. We liked what we did there. Now we're just trying to match it up. We don't really have a torch that gets it hot enough to actually get it red hot. So this is just what we're using, and then we're just using a lot of brute strength. Let's see up on that. outside. So we're having to go over 90 because we're bending this part. So as long as this part right here is 90, all right, so that part looks pretty good. And I'll double check it with our other piece. Yeah, those look very similar. Now we just need to readjust and bend out the top here. So we'll set that right about there. There we go. So, even though we didn't have the right tools, we had brute strength. So, next thing we're going to do is we're going to measure down. Probably, we kind of like that right here. So this is just 1.5 inches. So we went 750 down, 750 over. So we'll probably do that right here, and then we'll probably go down maybe 1 inch or 2 and put another bolt. So there'll be 2 bolts right there. And then we're going to sand the whole thing up, round the corners, square it off, and then we're going to start painting it. But probably before we paint it, we'll cut the bolts down to make sure everything is the right size. All right, so after done bending those, we got those holes drilled. So it's 750 over, 750 down for the top one, and then it's 2.5 inches down from that. That looks and feels right. So now I'm going to round off the top and the bottom just to make it look good. And then from there, we're gonna go on to paint. Or I think we'll try it. We'll test it first, and then we'll go on to paint.
Below where the belt is spinning, and it just turns orange as you drive.
All right, so that's what we were going for. Just nice finished round edges. So now we're gonna wait for these to cool down, and then we're going to cut down the bolts to the right length, and then we'll screw these on, test fit it, and then we will make sure that everything is good to go. All right, cut down the bolts, got everything all nice and lined up. You can see how we rounded it off. There's still a little burr right there, so still need to do some finish sanding, but all of that looks pretty good. These are very sturdy. This should, this doesn't hold the thing down, nothing will. Yeah, this is all it. This is basically what we were thinking. So just going to kiss the end of this, and then we'll put on some coats of primer, and then we'll be painting and then installing this. All right, so we got them all cleaned up. We cleaned them with some alcohol, and they're good to go. Now we got all the big pieces of rust off. This is a rust reformer paint from Rust-Oleum. So we're just gonna spray that on there, and then we have some hammer tone finish that we're gonna finish it up with. But yeah, so you're just gonna mist on first, lightly, further back. There you go. Lighter, lighter. Keep it moving. No, too much. So you're gonna want to be more like up here, like this.
Oh, gotcha.
You're gonna first coat. You always want it to be dusted on there.
Gotcha.
See the silvery of the metal, how it's starting to go away. Just now with this dusting, try to make that go away, but not so heavy. Okay, Okay, so this is the hammer tone finish. It's an okay color. I guess that's the color, hammered brown. Kind of looks more of like a coppery silver to me. Not a big deal. All right, I'll show you when they're done. All right, it's the next day. These got all nice and painted up. Nice kind of bronzy brown color. So I didn't just throw all the screws together because they were all kind of cut to size, because behind each one of these was sort of something different. Like one could go in a little bit further than another. So I left them in the spots that they were. And you kind of don't want to torque these down too crazy tight, because the riv nuts, they're strong, but they're not like a normal nut. Also hoping that the paint will maybe act as a little bit of a Loctite on them. Don't want to put Loctite in here, because when I was feeling it as we were testing this part got kind of hot. So I think normal Loctite would just kind of start to melt. So the paint on here should help to lock that screw in. And then also it'll be sitting on this, so it's going to have to lift itself up to back out. So I think that should be fine. All right, so I think that's good and tight. Yeah, it feels pretty good. So now I'm going to put on this foam tape so that it's not the metal brackets that are sitting directly onto the refrigerator. This foam tape hopefully will be cushioning everything. All right, so now we're gonna go set it in there, and then mark the holes for the screws, and then this should be installed. All right. So it looks like it's right where we were initially measuring. So pretty excited about all of that. So now I'm just gonna mark the screws, because it looks like I'm gonna have to screw all these in by hand. So I'm gonna mark and pre-drill out. And I'm gonna push down right here, because the foam seems to be pushing it up a little bit. So this is just a scribe. I'm also trying to get into the center of the holes. All right. So then I'm going to pull this back down, set it over here. Right. Got our screws. They're 1/4 inch by 1 inch. These should be plenty of beef to hold this down. Alrighty. Make sure the cord's out of the way. Okay, now I'm just gonna screw her in. All right, so it's installed. So now let's see. So there should be a little bit of up and down like that, but that's not bad. So side to side, forward and back, it's pretty well locked in. There's gonna be a little bit of up and down movement, but it's not going anywhere now. So, pretty excited about that. I guess we should plug it in to see, make sure it still works. Hey, look at that. So that's cool. We will probably eventually move this water spigot over to here. We kind of ran out of this line. So we'll eventually probably move that to over here. It is still accessible right here though. So, and you could still fill up water bottles or whatever from right here. But we definitely will probably move it over here just to make it a little bit more convenient. But yeah, so that's pretty sweet. I think if we wanted to actually strap this down right here, we do have a hook down there. And we could just go to one of the tubs. If we were really concerned about this, but I think it should be okay. All right, so we went to the store, got some more hose. We're definitely gonna extend the faucet out more. So that process is basically just taking this hose and making it longer, so it's not gonna be that big a deal. Right here is where I had one of those tie wrap mounts. That's basically all it's gonna be. I thought maybe we wouldn't do it, but then we were at the store anyways and it was there. So I was like, yeah, let's just move it out now because we're going on a month-long road trip and I'd rather not have something bothering me for a whole month, so. All right, so disconnected in the new hose, tie wrapped it into that spot, went all the way back. Now the faucet is much easier to accessible out here and we could fill up their teapot out here, make coffee. So that's gonna make that a lot easier because it probably would have been pretty difficult to wedge the teapot back in here. So the only other thing we were thinking about doing with this spot was maybe putting a DeWalt charger because we seem to use that DeWalt, the vacuum and the drills a lot, and then the heater. So I think it's coming along. So if you're enjoying this and if you have a project where you need to put in your own appliance that was not meant to mount and this helps you, give us a like, give us a follow, and just let me know what you did down in the comments.